Greetings, Quester, and welcome to the Quest Report with Matt and Richard.
Welcome to the Quest Report, and today we're going to be talking about Vast The Crystal Caverns. And this is a fantasy-based game, and it's one where each player takes on the role of, well, basically, I would say a different faction, but sometimes it's factions, sometimes it's characters, and sometimes it's an inanimate object, isn't it? So there's this cave with many crystals in it, and there's a sleeping dragon in there as well. And a knight goes into this cave. Is she trying to slay the dragon, or just collect crystals, or kill the thief? There's a thief as well. I can't remember exactly what they're meant to be doing.
There's 5 roles, isn't there? You've got the knight who's trying to slay the dragon.
Yeah, but she... Oh, no. Yeah. She's trying to kill the dragon, and you're trying to kill... You're trying to eat goblins.
I'm trying to escape.
Yeah, basically.
I played the dragon, and I was just trying to...
Goblins.
I have to wake up. This is my job for the game. I have to wake up, and
then get out there.
Yeah, but the way I have to wake up is that you start off with like a certain amount of powers and abilities, and then you get to essentially upgrade your dragon by moving, in which case you move cubes off one track and put them onto another. Which
we're getting very technical now.
Yeah,
I mean, there's the dragon, the knight, the thief, the goblins, and the cave.
And the cave.
That's it. Okay.
And I do love that people can play as the cave.
Yeah, I mean that is a pretty good aspect of this game. But the fact that you've had to just kind of try to, well, you were explaining how you be the dragon, and I had no clue about how you be the dragon. That is one of the issues that I had with this game when we played it. So I was the goblins, and Heather was the knight.
Yeah.
So it was a 3-player game, and when you do play a 3-player game, then you have to kind of be the cave together, don't we? So
yeah.
Basically, the thief was doing nothing in this one.
You can play a 3-player game with the cave. There's so many different permutations that you can do it, but it just affects how each one interacts quite dramatically. I mean, if I wasn't in the game, Heather wouldn't be trying to kill me. She'd have to go around and collect crystals.
Yeah.
So there are ways of playing with any of the different roles involved. Mm-hmm. It's just it completely changes everything around you as to your objectives and how the game works.
Yeah. So when you're the knight, because I saw Heather doing that, it's basically like an RPG, isn't it?
Yeah.
So she had this board, and she had these cubes on it, and she could change different stats, couldn't she, depending on what she did? Yeah. And she had a little inventory thing.
Because she could gain cubes by upgrading her character, couldn't she? And then she could spend, and she could allocate those cubes on each turn to where she wanted. Yeah. So she could upgrade. So it wasn't like a permanent. Well, I've done this, and now I wish I hadn't. On your next turn, you can then move some of those cubes around again.
Yeah. She could change it a bit then.
Which is a good design feature, I think.
Yes, and I was being the goblins, and that is basically like controlling clans, isn't it? So I've put these guys up here. So here we have the Eye Tribe, the Bone Tribe, and the Fangs Tribe. And they're basically like my 3 little characters that I can move around. They can either be hidden, where they're on the board with me, or they can be out in the cave, and I can move them around like that. But I kind of keep track of their population on my little board. They can become overpopulated, and that's pretty annoying. Then one of them has to kind of disband and disperse, didn't they?
And whatever you do, your tribes do disperse regularly, don't they? Because they have to do a thing called scatter, and they have to come off the board, and they lose some of their population and everything. And it's basically anything that they do, if they attack somebody or if they get attacked, they end up scattering, don't they? Afterwards,
they're all very temporary. The goblin tribes, they basically come together for an attack, and then they all run off.
And actually, I think that fits very thematically into the story of what's going on here with all these different factions. And if you watch any fantasy films with goblins or anything like that, or read any of the books, they don't come out and make a big stand and fight in a shield wall. No. They strike and then disappear as soon as anything happens.
Type of thing, isn't it? Yeah, so I had these little counters for the population which I was stacking up. Yeah, at the start of every turn I had to take this war card out, and whichever number it had next to different tribes I had to add that amount of population. If we got up at 4, then they all scatter. So yeah, that was always happening. Right, so that was the goblins. So I was basically running around in the shadows and attacking and running. So what was it like to play as the dragon?
It was interesting. I have to admit, I was kind of trying to focus on what I was doing. I was watching what you and Heather were doing, but I didn't know a lot of the time. I was trying to work out what your role was, what Heather's role was, what you were doing and why.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like you were playing one game, Heather was playing another game, and I was playing a completely different game. So for me, I had my dragons, and my dragon starts off as a slumbering dragon, and first thing I have to do is awaken him, which means I have to get him to a certain level. I think it's 11 upgrades he's got to get to be able to do that. And you can upgrade several times on one turn if things go the right way for you.
Right, yeah.
One of the main problems I had is that I had to kill goblins.
Oh,
I
was never there.
Goblins, and you were never there because you come out and attack Heather and then disappear back into the shadows. So by the time I think I only got to eat 3 or 4 goblins in the entire game.
Yeah, sometimes you got to eat a couple at once, but most of the time there was no goblins around.
No, there was none. So I had to do other things to try and get my upgrades, and it is possible to do that because you can get upgrades for not moving, for doing different things. So that wasn't a huge issue. I did manage to awaken my dragon, but it did take me longer because I had planned on eating many goblins. I had an appetite for goblins.
We just didn't stick around.
No, which is probably a good thing when there's a dragon. I can understand why the goblins didn't want to get eaten. Yeah. So I had to get my character to this level, and once I got to this level, I then had to escape from the cave. That meant I had to go from the lair underground to the surface first, which meant I had to go to one of the crystal tiles and then spend a turn going from underground to the surface, and then once that had happened, I could start making my way towards the exit. So I made my way to a crystal near the exit, and I was about to have my turn and escape the cave.
Oh, yeah.
And somebody deliberately collapsed the entire cave system.
Oh, the cave was collapsing in on us, really.
Someone decided that we should all lose instead of me winning. And to be fair, I would have done the same thing.
Yeah, that was the right tactical move, because we couldn't have won. So, yeah, collapse the cave. So, basically, like you said, it was like playing 3 different games. We were all playing different ones.
I do like asymmetrical games where every role, every faction plays differently. You know how much I love Chaos in the Old World and other games like that with a very asymmetrical factions.
Chaos in the Old World is more like we each have different bonuses, but we're all playing the same game. This very much
the rules, the general rules apply the same, don't they? It's just that we advance in different ways and do different things.
Yeah.
But with this, it's like 5 games in one. Every role is so different to the other roles that by the end of I knew what I was doing in the game. I didn't know what you were doing half the time. I didn't know what Heather was doing half the time. I think I would probably enjoy playing, from what I saw, your roles, because I like the idea of the goblins coming out and striking and disappearing and those guerrilla tactics. I like that. And I like RPGs, so I love the idea of playing like Heather was.
The knight was the one that I thought looked the most interesting to play. Like you say, it's like an RPG. But then she basically had us playing as the baddies. Rather than play completely different games.
Which, in to be fair, compared to Heather, we are the baddies. So
normally, just in general life.
Yeah, we're not talking about games anymore.
Yeah. So, but that was the problem that I thought with it, because, like you said, you didn't really know what me and Heather were doing. I had no idea what you were doing. Like you said, that it was annoying when I kept on. My goblins were always like hiding in the shadows and stuff. I didn't know that I was making the problem for you doing that. I mean, I was just kind of.
You'd have probably done it anyway if you had, though.
Yeah. Basically, I wanted my guys to be back here on the board.
Yeah.
So I could use my. Each tribe had their own little special move they could do. So I wanted to do them rather than come out, because that would have used my entire move. So that's why there wasn't many goblins on the board. So probably by a fluke that kind of worked out okay, and I was mostly attacking Heather. But like, any one of you could have been doing all kinds of crazy things with the rules, and I would have been none the wiser.
Yeah.
Not that I'm suspicious of people. It's just that. You like to be able to keep an eye on what other people are doing, so you know who's winning and like what they might do next, and you like to feel like you are actually understanding what's going on in the game.
Yeah.
Whereas in this game, I think you'd need to play it so many times to be able to get that, and play as each role.
I was going to say, I think you need to play as each role to be able to really understand the game. And in some ways, that's, I mean, for some people that's going to be a good thing. Some people that's going to be a bad thing. I mean, for me, I think I've got a game here which is going to take probably more plays than I'm going to give it before I get bored of it, because there's so many different roles. I mean, I'd like to play as a different role every time until I've played them all.
Yeah.
And then I know what they're all doing, and I can then go back and think about different strategies and try different things. But also because of the way the roles work, if I play a game where I'm the dragon and you're the cave and Heather's the thief, which is all doable, we'd come back to this, and I'd be playing against a completely different setup of people.
You'd have different goals, basically, wouldn't you?
There's a lot of different permutations here, so I think there is a great deal of game in this to explore. Now, am I going to give it the chance? I enjoyed it. I would play it again. I'm not going to be racing to get it back to the table.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth that many plays. No, it's difficult for us to say now because we just played it that one time with that one permutation. But I would want the game to feel like it had a bit more depth before I was going to do that. I know it shouldn't matter too much, but it's like the artwork makes it seem like a much lighter game than it actually is, and I think
it's almost kiddified, isn't it? The way the artwork's done.
But obviously with it being cartoony, that's fine, and it's very stylized. But I would like it to look a little bit more kind of ominous and more like you could really feel immersed in it before I was going to play it the amount of times that's necessary to get to know it.
It didn't feel... I mean, I say, some of the way that, like, when I was watching you as the goblins, the way you were playing felt thematic to the game.
Yeah.
But when I was playing my role as the dragon, it didn't feel like what I was doing was that thematic. I mean, for my turn, I was basically drawing a hand of cards, and I would play cards in different combinations to use different dragon abilities. Now, that sounds really cool. In essence, what it means is I'm matching up symbols on the cards and rolling a dice to see what happens. Now, the dice is a 6-sided dice. It's called the dragon die.
Yeah, it was just...
It's a red die, and it's got little white patterns on each side which show what tiles are affected by what you've just done.
It looked like a normal die until you really look at it.
Yeah. And so I'd say, right, well, I'm going to try and claw at some goblins, for example, if there were goblins there. Yeah. So I'd spend some cards to take that action, and I'd roll the dice and see if the squares that were affected by what I did actually were the squares I wanted to be affected. Because it might be on a completely different square. Now, statistically, it's kind of like you rolling a dice to see if you've got a successful attack. But at the same time, I can't help but think, if I'm a dragon and you're in front of me and I want to swipe at you, I'm not going to then turn around and swipe at something over here by mistake. Yeah. You know, it didn't really fit, even though it was interesting in and of itself. And if you roll and the symbol that you're on comes up, then it's automatically, a failure. It's like rolling a 1. Right. But it just didn't. It's different, and I like things that are a bit different. But at times with things like that, it didn't make sense. Now, some of the powers that I was using, where I was like flaming everything around me, that made a little bit more sense to see, because you kind of go, okay, well, you're flaming everything, but naturally some areas are going to be more damaged than others if you're just flailing out and attacking.
Although the dragon was kind of sleepwalking at that time, wasn't it?
He was.
That might be what was going on.
But, I mean, after wandering around a cave for a while, he would wake up.
So that seems a little bit less... Yeah.
I mean, I know how difficult it is to wake up after a few hours sleep at night. If I've been sleeping for hundreds of years, it's probably going to take me a lot longer to... And bear in mind, this dragon does not have coffee.
Yeah,
he's just got goblins to eat.
Yeah.
But...
It depends if the goblins are drinking coffee.
Yeah. Well, it could be coffee-flavoured goblins.
Yeah, they're full of caffeine.
As long as they're not decaffeinated goblins, it will be alright.
Then he gets really enraged.
Yeah. But I just didn't feel like... It's not that I didn't enjoy it. It just didn't thrill me. And I kind of think, yes, I would kind of like to try some of the different roles. But at the same time, Would I be excited if someone said to me, I want to come round and play Vast, compared to some of the other board games in my collection?
Yeah,
probably wouldn't.
It seems more like a casual game, but it requires so much more work than any other game.
I mean, I was thinking, because I've got some friends who I've got different groups of people that I play games with, and I was thinking, well, when this game, oh no, my secret is out. He's betrayed. I've got different groups of people that I play games with, and I was thinking, when I looked at the art and things like that, oh, this is probably a game I could play with some of the younger gamers. But actually, this is a lot more complex, as you say, than I gave it credit for initially. And I do think it would go over the heads of quite a few people. And the thing is, as well, I like to, when I've got people playing a game, especially for the first time, if they're maybe not as experienced as other gamers, I kind of like to be able to think, right, well, I know exactly how the game works. I know how everything works. So if they've got any questions, or if, I can address them straight away. If they're struggling, I can maybe help, at least at the beginning of the game, to maybe help explain what might be a good strategy to go for, or just without playing the game for them, just a couple of little hints if that's what they like. With this, I couldn't do that.
No.
Not until I'd played it so many times myself, and so it lost points from that for me. But as a game, it's got some very interesting things in it. I really like the idea of playing as the cave. The thief, not so much, because the thief just seems to die every time he interacts with somebody, from what I've read in the rule book. But
we'd have to try that one.
Yeah,
I think we're going to have to do some follow-up quest reports after we've been doing this for a while. Well, some of our quest reports will be like, well, we've played this one another time, and we've learnt some more, either that we like or don't like. This is even worse than we said it was before. Yeah.
This is definitely like an initial view of the game. It's just, when you play a game initially, it's got to offer enough to make you want to come back and play it again.
Yeah, because it's a game, it's not work.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to work for fun.
Yeah.
And I feel with this, I'm going to have to work for the fun. Now, I could be wrong. I could play this again and play a different faction and be bowed away.
Yeah, but then somebody else would have to play in your faction.
Yeah. And you know what? I love dragons. And I thought, I wanted to be the dragon straight away. I wanted to be the dragon. And I was so glad I got to play the dragon. But I'm not actually sure I would be... I mean, I certainly would want to play another faction anyway, as I've already stated. But I just don't feel like this is a game that excited me at all on my first play. And I'm not really going to be in a rush to play it again, even though I can't turn around and say it's a bad game. It just didn't. It just didn't excite me the way I expected it to.
Well, it's just hard to really specify who this game would be for, or like if it's not like if you like such a game, then you're like this. It's
if you like asymmetrical games, and I do. Then I think this is definitely worth giving a try.
If you're a workaholic.
Yeah, because this game, as I say, is the most asymmetrical game I've ever played.
Yeah, it very much is very asymmetrical, which I thought was a very interesting point. I mean, I like it in theory. It's just in practice, it's just makes it far too much work, I think.
I like the idea of it. And I would say, while I say that if you like asymmetrical games, give it a try, I would say if you don't like asymmetrical games, burn it now, because if you don't like asymmetrical games, you will hate this game.
Don't buy one just to burn it, just don't get it.
And don't be the douche that goes around burning other people's copies. No one's going to invite you back to the games nights again.
Yeah, but we have to be careful about what advice we give out, don't we, really?
Yeah, try not to take us too literally.
People have been taking us very literally, I assume.
Yes,
because we make these statements and lay down the law about what to do. So
we're just meddling in people's lives in so many ways.
Well, we want to get the right level of how meddlesome we want to actually be. Yeah, really, as meeples.
So if you don't like asymmetrical games, I would say don't give this a try. If you do, at least try it out and see what you think. It's got to be better with more plays. I think it will get better with more plays, but even then, I'm just not sure if I'd want to then go and play it. One of the things I did think was a good idea as well was that each role had different levels. There's 5 levels for every role, so that you can play it adjusting the difficulty. Like if you've got someone who's really experienced and a whole bunch of people who are new at the game, you can set them to playing any one of the characters with a harder difficulty. And
just to make it more complicated
more complicated for them. And it's kind of like if you're the dragon, you can have like an easier a level to play where you get more lives and just different things like that affect each role. And I do think that is a really good thing because you can crank up the difficulty for one person and keep everyone else at a like a beginner level.
Yeah.
So that's good. It does also have like a campaign style mode. Well, they call it a campaign style mode, where you all start off on the easiest settings, and the person that wins levels up. And it's almost more like a tournament than a campaign. It's basically whoever gets wins enough games to level their character up to the hardest difficulty wins. I think there will maybe
be the more interesting one.
Yeah, but I'm not sure how many groups are going to play this game that many times. Because the thing is, you've got to remember, there's so many good games coming out all the time that people are going, right, well, I'm going to get this to the table once, and if I don't like it, I'm not going to play it again.
Yeah.
Or they'll go back and try it a second time.
Yeah, but
and if it still doesn't wow them, because there's so many games coming out.
That's a minority. I mean, if people are doing that, then they're going to play whatever anyway, aren't they? I mean, who cares? We don't need to cater to that one guy who's doing that. But I know what you mean. I don't think people are really.
But if you are that guy, come join our game group and let us try your games.
We'd be bringing a different one every time. It'd be annoying. Just have your own game group.
Yeah.
Guy, whoever you are. But yeah, I know what you mean. People
we should
aren't
call
really
him
take
Dave.
Dave.
They're all dead, Dave.
Okay, so yeah, I was really wanting to have a game that we talked about that I didn't like so much because obviously we're only kind of starting out doing this kind of thing, and there's so many games that we love and that we want to talk about, and if we've taken the time to play a game, generally we do kind of enjoy it. But we didn't want to just be like every quest report just saying like, oh, we really love this game, and like really, because that would get annoying after a while. So thank you, Vast. You've allowed us to be able to break our streak of loving all the games.
Well, you've certainly met with Richard's hate criteria.
Yeah.
So that checkbox is ticked.
This is about as angry as I get. But it's. But I did think.
Unless someone nicks your beer.
Yeah.
I've seen you when you've.
Yeah, that would be pretty annoying. But I mean, I didn't exactly hate it. But when I was playing it, I thought, well, I was hoping that one of the games we played recently, one of the new ones, I would think, well, maybe this one isn't so good, just to me personally. And then when we were playing Vast, I thought, yeah, there's a lot that I don't really like about this, and it was the over complexity of it. But I can understand why some people might like it. Like you were saying, if you like asymmetrical games, then you are going to really like this because nothing about it is the same when you play the different factions. So.
It's probably more asymmetrical than it needs to be.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, if you're wanting to hate on some games, there are some games that I really hate. So we will prepare for some very angry quest reports, folks.
Well, yeah, or that could be like we could do
unless
like a tiny
you play them and you love them.
Yeah, then we can argue. Yeah,
we'll just cut to a scene of me and Richard brawling with cardboard components flying everywhere.
Yeah, he's trying to destroy a different game or defend it. Yeah.
So, that's our quest report on Vast The Crystal Caverns. We hope this has been informative, and it's probably been more fun doing this than playing the game.
Yeah, that probably says it best.
Farewell, Quester. To find out about other productions by the Meddlesome Meeples, then check out our channel or rendezvous with us at meddlesomemeeples.com. Until next time, Quester, farewell and keep thine axe sharp.